Welcome back to AskToya. The last time we met, I gave you a lot of information and I use a lot of what we call alphabet soup, which is acronyms for various explanations about your child's, for example, IEP stands for Individualized Educational Program. If your child is in early intervention, it's an individual family service plan. And once your child becomes school age, it's called Committee on Special Education. If your child is a preschooler, it's Committee on Preschool Education. So those are some of the acronyms, but I've also used OT, which stands for occupational therapy, and PT, which stands for physical therapy. When I used to do tours, sometimes I would take the child down the steps to see if by age 3, children are usually alternating feet. And if they're using the same foot, going up and down the stairs, we may have them evaluated for physical therapy. The other thing is occupational therapy also looks at the physical. For example, how a child grasps a pencil or a crayon. Usually by the time they're 3, they will hold a pencil or a crayon the way we do. If they're grasping it in an immature way, then you would need to have them looked at. It doesn't necessarily mean that they need OT or PT services, but you're just ruling certain things out. Once you've notified the school district that you want your child evaluated, they have 60 days. Now that's 60 working days. That does not include weekends, where they must evaluate your child, give you a copy of whatever the recommendations are, and then hold a meeting to determine whether your child is eligible. Now, not every child will be eligible for example, a full preschool program. They may be in daycare and receive services where someone comes in, a speech language pathologist, or a PT, or an OT, and works with them in that setting to correct whatever the deficits are. So it will depend upon what the outcome of the evaluations are, will determine what type of program, if any, that your child will be placed in. If it's determined that your child is in a program, then you will, for example, such as Tiegerman, it's a full day program. When we first started, it was half day, but now it is a full day program because they really realize that these children need intensive services. The goal is for the students to be ready for kindergarten, to go back to their regular district. Now, sometimes that happens and sometimes they need to continue in a special ed setting. But the goal has always been to try to close the gap and get the students to go back to a less restrictive environment. The next thing that I would like to sort of talk about is what it means for you as a parent. You need to begin to educate yourself. You need to follow up with the program or the specialist that's working with your child so that you can reinforce at home what's being taught, either in the nursery school or one-on-one setting, but it needs to be reinforced. The services that are given should not be done in isolation. You need to educate yourself and speak with them and make sure that you are following through with what they're doing, because the child needs repetition. And that was one of the things that when we started early on with the school, it was the parents are very integral part of ensuring that children have success and carry on what is being taught to them, whether it's in a daycare setting, or individual or full-time program. The next thing I would probably like to talk about is, and I will have to use my cheat sheet to do this, but there are now 13 classifications of of special education. One is autism. Now, the autism is a very large spectrum, but that is a classification that would determine whether your child would be eligible for special education services. Deafness, deaf blindness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, learning disability, multiple disability, orthopedic disability, other health impairment, speech or language impairment, which is what most of our children, when we first started the program, that was the classification that they were given. Now you have many with autism or the other one is traumatic brain injury and visual impairment. Or it could be a combination of any of these. So it's not just autism, because a lot of times with autism you have speech delays or speech impairments. So that's why they've widened the classification when determining whether a child will be eligible for services. The importance of knowing what your child's impairment is very, very important. So I am going to wind this up now. If you have any questions, you can go to AskToya. I got my first response, and I will be doing responses later on in various videos. I will also be bringing in other people who are experts. I don't know it all, even though it says Ask Toya. Thank you.